The greedy reality of Helldivers 2. That's right, we're talking about Helldivers 2 and how they're getting a little bit too greedy. We're going to expose the truth, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to discuss why the PSN, the PlayStation Network battle, is not over. So, just to summarize things for people who don't know, PlayStation Network is something that is or was supposed to be required to play Helldivers 2. It was always that way, but the game didn't require it at first because well, who knows? They said it was easier or whatever, but a lot of people theorized it was just to get more people to buy the game, because if you buy a game and it requires the PlayStation Network, you don't like PlayStation, maybe you decide to refund the game. If you buy the game, play it for a couple months, then they require PlayStation Network, you can't refund the game because you've already played the game over the allotted time, and you can't get a refund. Anyways, that's sort of the summary of things, and there's a whole big community outpouring, and people are upset, and PlayStation, Sony, the people who supposedly originally dictated that Helldivers 2 had to run on the PlayStation Network, went and said that they're no longer going to require it. Sort of. So we're left with them saying they're not going to require it, but it's not quite cut and dry in my opinion. There's been a lot of people talking, there's been a lot of theories, there's been a lot of just corporate babble, and it seems like right now on the corporate side of things, they're saying they're not going to require the PlayStation Network for anyone who is outside of the sort of PlayStation Network region, right? But that doesn't really mean much for the rest of us who could, in theory, sign up for a PlayStation Network account. What it seems like is if you are inside the areas where PlayStation Network accounts can be created, you're still eventually going to have to create a PlayStation Network account. Or at least that's what it sounds like to me. And what we can see here is we've got the latest Warbond, the Polar Warbond. And the thing that I want you to pay attention to is the bottom left-hand corner. It states that the PlayStation Network is going to be required to use this Warbond. Now, depending on how much you trust Arrowhead and Sony, you could be saying, well, it's only required for PlayStation players. But given the track record and given the fact that PlayStation Network's already been shoved down our throat once and we just happened to spit it out, it seems like this could be sort of indicating what's going to be going on in the future. It seems like in the future, to play Warbonds or to use Warbonds, we're going to need the PlayStation Network account. Now they want the game to be activated on Steam again for all the 100 and however many countries that do not have PlayStation Network account sign up abilities. So it seems like they're still sort of going through that. They're trying to get the game reactivated and make sure that they're not going to lose a huge portion of the player base. But eventually, it looks like for those of us in PlayStation Network, it looks like for a lot of us, we're going to eventually be forced to create a PSN account. Whether or not it's through Warbonds or the game not working at all, who knows? But it seems like it's going that way. It seems like their marketing still has PlayStation Network on it. It seems like they're still sort of going ahead with this. They're just going to try and approach it from a different direction. And while we're talking about approaching things from a different direction, to push Warbonds, a lot of people right now are theorizing that they're nerfing guns. So for those of you who don't know, pretty much every gun in Helldiver has been nerfed at this point. Everybody was complaining about this gun, that gun, this gun, that gun, this gun, that gun, but pretty much they've all started to suck a little bit more, and that leads people to wonder, are Warbonds really worth it? The reason they're wondering this is because it seems like Warbonds, they sell, and then shortly after, there's balancing, there's more balancing, there's more balancing, and basically eventually the Warbond that you spend money on becomes worthless, because most of the people buying Warbonds for guns, not for skins or armor or anything like that. They just want the one or two guns that comes with the Warbond, maybe two or three. They want the guns that come with the Warbond, right? So they buy the Warbond, they get the guns get nerfed, they buy the next Warbond, and this cycle seems like it's been continuing on and on and on. And basically it's a $10 subscription, or it's a $10 cost if you want to keep buying these Warbonds every month. And players are starting to get a little bit fed up. Not necessarily because of the cost or saying it's too great, just because they find their favorite gun that they buy, they find a nice meta that they like, and then it gets nerfed. And it's getting nerfed, and it seems like it's getting nerfed just to sell Warbonds, or at least that's what a lot of players are saying, and that's what they're really upset about. Because if you're nerfing a gun to balance the game, that's completely different than if you're nerfing a gun to sell something. In one instance, you're trying to make the overall player experience better. In the other instance, you're just trying to make more money. And there's a big difference between those two, because if something happens to the gun I like, or the loadout I like, and then the game gets better, I'm all for that, right? I know that for me it's not the greatest thing in the world, but overall it helps everybody. We're all in this together, right? You don't want to be that one asshole on the highway trying to cut everybody off. You want to be letting people in and sort of doing your part to keep traffic flowing because everybody's trying to get home, except for that one jackass who decided to jack off on the side of the road, but he's a weirdo. Anyways, no, like, everybody's trying to get home, right? Like, that's the thing. Everybody's trying to get the best game possible. And if we're all in that together, if we're all moving towards that goal, I am happy. Well, I'm not happy, but I'm okay with something I love getting destroyed for that. When it's all about the money, I'm not okay with that because here's the thing, like we've already paid for the game. We're only 3 months in. We've paid for the game. Like that should cover development at this point, right? If it's 10 years in the future, that's a little bit different. If you look at a game like Rust, it's just been continuously developing for the last, I think, like 10, 11, 12 years now. They do need to start selling skins and doing stuff to try and get people to keep paying into the game because they don't have a monthly subscription. Development still costs money, and not that many new people are coming into the game. Helldivers doesn't have that problem right now, but it seems like they're still trying to push these Warbonds. And it seems like they're trying to do it by nerfing guns. And at this point, the problem people have now is the latest Warbond guns aren't really that good. So pretty much you've got nerfs without any way to sort of counter those by buying the newest guns. So it's not even pay to win at this point. It's just pay. They just want money, and like it's not going to change anything. You're still gonna lose. It's, I don't know. It's a problem, I think, because it shows it's like the PlayStation Network and now this and the theories and all this. It shows that there's not as much good faith in this game as there's a lot more good faith on the buyer part than on the seller part. It seems like everybody thinks that Arrowhead and Helldivers 2 in general are acting in good faith. They're trying to make the best game possible, but it seems like their actions are dictating that that is not the case. Whether it's the PlayStation Network or guns being nerfed, well, or the theory that guns are nerfed to try and sell war bonds, it seems like more and more decisions are being made with dollar signs in the eyes. And that's not something you want to see. So hopefully things are going to turn around. Hopefully this isn't like a long-term trend. It is completely possible that the balancing team just is a little bit lost and they're trying to make the game more fun, but they don't quite know what they're doing. Because I could honestly see, but this is the thing. I can see where you'd be saying, like, it's really good to make stratagem something that you need to use on the bigger things, right? Like, you want them to be useful. You want them to be something that people actually, like, think about. You don't want people to be going into a run not caring what stratagems they run or what loadout because the game's going to eventually get boring. You want people to think and sort of genuinely try and strategize. And by nerfing certain things, that is allowing that to happen. Because if one gun's way too powerful, so like right now the flamethrower is completely overpowered, so like everybody's running in with a flamethrower, and it's really great. But at the same time, if everybody starts using all the same stratagems, the game gets, it's not as unique. It gets more boring, and people are going to stop playing. So I get why they're doing it, but I think the problem is like big things. If you get all four players focusing on them, you should be able to take them out without a stratagem, especially when you get to these high levels. Because if all you're required to do is just drop stratagems, then really the whole game comes down to just stratagem management, which I don't think that's what they want for this game. Um, so like they need to stop nerfing some of these guns and actually putting a little bit more time into balancing and making sure that if you run the right loadouts, you could take out some of these bigger things without using stratagems. Because that's one of the things I'd love to see people do. Stratagem, like, empty playthroughs, right? Like, a team of four goes in and they try and take out the whole mob, the bosses, all of that without using any stratagems. I think I think originally it was possible, but I don't know if it's possible anymore. I don't know. It's just stuff like that. Like, it would be really nice to see. It would be really nice to see some better thought go into balancing rather than just wanting to make it so guns aren't that effective against big things, so that you can take them out with stratagems, or so that you're forced to take them out with stratagems. Forcing people to do something isn't going to work for Helldivers because one of the big reasons this game is popular is because there's so many ways to tackle a problem. Reducing those ways, whether you're trying to make money or trying to balance the game or trying to do anything, is not good. And hopefully the dev team is going to reverse these things. It seems like they are taking community feedback into account, whether or not they're taking into account and trying to strategize a new way to make money, or whether or not they're taking into account and trying to make a new, like a really good new game or new like game decision. Is I think it still remains to be seen, but I do have my fingers crossed. I love that the CEO is so connected with the community, talking with everyone. It seems like overall, a lot of the people behind Helldivers 2 are actually active in the community and talking, and that is a really good sign. And obviously, they do want to make money, and I think Sony's behind some of this, trying to put the PlayStation Network. Sony's definitely behind some of this. What am I saying? Seriously, cereal. Come on now. Yeah, you just put milk in and no cereal. Like it's, but no, like I think if the people in charge start to push a little bit more, we're gonna get a better game. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I don't want to drag this out, but if you hit subscribe and like, that does help me just figure out if this video is good. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, peace.